So you're outside, Mr. Lehman?
Yeah, I'm gonna go inside so I can hear a
Very
little
good.
better.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's better, I think. This is People of the State of Michigan versus Daniel Lehman, docket number 21-116FH. And this is the time set for a plea. Mr. Lehman, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Mr. Lehman, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Sartz. You're represented by Mr. Sartz on the file that I'm told you're pleading to. And then your other file, you're represented by Mr. Abbott, but that's going to be dismissed as I understand it. Mr. Abbott is here, however. So,
Okay.
wait a second. Oh, there's only one count. So he's pleading to the charge on this file, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, would you read that, please, Ms. Allen?
In the People of the State of Michigan versus Daniel Lehman, file 21-116-FH, State of Michigan, County of Ingham, in the name of the people of the State of Michigan, the prosecuting attorney for this county appears before the court and informs the court that on or about September 18th, 2019, at 1121 Keystone Avenue, City of Lansing, Ingham County, the defendant did in count one commit the offense of uttering and publishing. That he did utter and publish as true a certain false, forged, altered, or counterfeit record, instrument, or other writing with intent to injure or defraud, knowing said instrument to be false, altered, forged, or counterfeit, said instrument more fully described as follows. Type of instrument, a check. Date on instrument, September 18th, 2019. Amount, $983.12. Instrument drawn on Independent Bank. Payee, Daniel Lehman. Drawer or maker, Cody Pinger. Endorser, if any, Cody Pringler, contrary to Michigan law. This is a felony punishable by up to 14 years and was committed against the peace and dignity of the state of Michigan.
Mr. Lehman, you're being charged here with what's known as uttering and publishing. That is a felony punishable by up to 14 years in prison. If you were on parole at the time of the offense, it would be a mandatory consecutive sentence. Have you had enough time to talk to your attorney about this charge?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And do you understand the charge against you?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about what we're doing today?
No, Your Honor.
And how do you want to plead?
Plead guilty, Your Honor.
If your plea of guilty is accepted by this court, it means you won't have a trial of any kind, and you'll be giving up the rights that go along with a trial. That means that you'll give up the right to a trial by jury, or if you didn't want trial by jury, trial by judge. You'll give up your right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty and to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You'll give up your right to have the witnesses against you appear at the trial and to be able to cross-examine them, as well as the right to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the trial. You'll give up your right to remain silent at the trial and not to have your silence used against you, or in the alternative, your right to testify at the trial if you wanted to. There's also a couple things that are different about appeals when you plead guilty. The first is that you don't get an automatic right to have the higher court look at your case. Instead, you have to ask them to look at it. They would have to agree. And then the other difference is that when you plead guilty, there are many issues that you simply can't appeal, which is different than people who go to trial. If they get convicted, they can appeal pretty much everything. So you understand those rights, Mr. Lehman?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Also, if I accept your plea, it means you can't come back later on and try to say that the plea was the result of some promise or threat that no one told me about today. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Also, it means you cannot come back later on and try to say that it really wasn't your own choice to plead guilty today. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Is there a plea agreement, Ms. Allen?
There is, Your Honor. In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this file, which is 21-116-FH, the people agreed to dismiss file 19-950-FH. The defendant does agree to pay restitution in that file. to the victim if there is any. There's also a sentence agreement pursuant to People versus Killebrew. The defendant will receive no upfront jail.
Is that a full and complete statement, Mr. Sartz?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Lehman, is that your understanding of the agreement also?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you agree with it?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
There's an agreement about your sentence, and that is that you would get no upfront jail. If for some strange reason I decided not to go along with that, I would tell you before I sentenced you, and I'd give you a chance if you wanted to take back your plea and start over. You got that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you anything else that has not been said here right now in order to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Anyone used any threats to get you to do it?
No.
And are you pleading guilty because, or I'm sorry, is it your own choice to plead guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you doing that because you believe you are in fact guilty of this offense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so this is the uttering and publishing. Tell me what you did on or about September 18 of 2019.
I received a check, which I should have known was a fraudulent check at the time, but did not realize it. I should have known that I wouldn't get nothing for free. And I went ahead into the bank to cash the check to get the money for the check.
Okay, what do you mean you wouldn't get nothing for free? What were the circumstances that made you think it
was my understanding that it was for yard work, and I did no type of yard work whatsoever. That should have been a red flag to me, but it was not.
Well, it was for yard work and you did 0 yard work. So did you know the check was bad, Mr. Lehman?
No, I didn't. No, I should have known. But no, I did not know that the check was bad. I should have known right off the bat that it was. But my intention was to get the money because I needed the money for bills.
Okay. At what point did you realize that it was, well, what was it? What was bad about the check? Was it a forged check, did it turn out?
No, my understanding was that it was my understanding was it was a good check, that the gentleman did not have an ID to cash the check. So so I was to cash the check and give him a portion of the money and keep a portion of the money for me.
That didn't sound like a bad check to you, Mr. Lehman?
No, it did not, Your Honor, and it should have.
Okay, so at what point did you find out that it was a bad check?
As soon as the teller told me to hold on and the police were called and the police showed up, I instantly knew when the police showed up that it was a fraudulent check.
So the only thing that changed is the teller told you to hold on, and that's when you suddenly get this, revelation?
No. As soon as the teller told me to hold on, I proceeded to the lobby area. I instantly knew that the check was bad when I seen the police come in, and I knew they were there for the check incident.
Okay. So you claim you didn't know the check was bad, but at the mere sight of the police, you suddenly know the check is bad.
Yes. And I knew at that time I would get in some type of trouble for the check.
Okay.
And then upon talking with the police and the bank manager and everything, it was brought to my attention that it was a fraudulent check.
Well, maybe you need to talk to Mr. Sartz a little bit more.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Mr.
may I
Sartz?
ask some additional questions for Mr. Lehman?
Of course you may.
Thank you. Mr. Lehman, just so we're very clear about this, you had every reason to suspect that the check might have been bad at the time it was given to you, correct?
Yes. I had a feeling, but I did not want to listen to my gut feeling about whether or not the check was bad. I just wanted to get it cashed and get it taken care of.
Okay, I actually think that's good, Mr. Sartz. So you had a gut feeling, you just didn't want to listen to it, right?
I just didn't want to listen to it, Your Honor. You're absolutely
Okay.
right.
All right.
And Mr. Lehman, it later turns out that the checks were actually stolen. Isn't that true?
Yes, I laterly found out that the check was actually stolen.
Yeah. And to the best of your knowledge, the person who handed you the check, they didn't do any work for that gentleman either, right?
No, not that I know of, not to my recollection.
Yeah. So
Okay. And you actually did cash it, is that right? Or no, you attempted to. You handed it to the teller, but the police were called, is what you told me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you obviously were intending to get money from this check being cashed had you been successful, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if that check was bad, that money would not be really your money to get. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough to say, Your Honor.
All right. So that would be fraudulent.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And this happened at 1121 Keystone Avenue in Lansing, Ingham County. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. At the last two banks.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Has the court complied with MCR 6.302, Ms. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not sure if we the information about how much was on it, the details of the check to cover the factual basis.
I don't, it's not an element.
Technically not. Okay, then yes, correct, Your Honor. Thank you. I think we're set.
Has the court complied, Mr. Sartz?
yes, Your Honor.
Are you aware of any promises, threats, or inducements other than those already placed on the record, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Sartz?
None, Your Honor.
The court finds the plea is understandingly and voluntarily made without undue influence, threats, or promises of leniency. It is an accurate plea. It's supported by the testimony. The plea is accepted. I have a sentencing date of Monday, August 2nd at 4:30, if that works for you, Mr. Sartz.
It should, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Lehman?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you okay with doing the sentencing remotely, just like we did this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good, then that's what we'll do. You, however, will need to contact the Adult Probation Department. Mr. Sartz can direct you if you're not sure on that, and let them know that you need to set up an interview because they have to set that up well in advance of the sentencing date. They're going to interview you and put it all in a report that I'll use for sentencing. Will you do that?
Okay, Your Honor. Yes, I will, Your
All right.
Honor.